Really?
They get paid more.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, January 5th, 2026, and Happy New Year to everybody. This is a commissioners' meeting. We're live in the City Hall Commissioners' Room, second floor. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 9 o'clock a.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
That light on this.
In lieu of individual roll call, we'll let the record show that the full complement of the mayor and commissioners are here, and therefore we have a quorum and are able to formally conduct business today. Additionally, with us as staff are City Manager Taylor Tedder, City Solicitor Lisa Bourne-Ogden, and Evan Miller, Assistant City Manager. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank everybody actually for being here for that's watching virtually. Thank you, and also want to thank everybody that's here, a few of us here in person. Constituent input is always welcome, as you know, and please see the public participation rules at the end of the agenda. Remember, you've got a 3-minute time limit, so use some of this time to prepare for what you're going to say. And a reminder that the city manager is available after the meeting's over to take any questions or discuss something with you. Also want to remind people that support documents, those are documents that support our individual agenda items when they're available sufficient time ahead of the meeting, are embedded into the agenda, and you can access them through the website and the portal. I want to remind everybody that this meeting is a commissioners meeting, formerly under the label workshop. And there's a brief explanation at the bottom of the agenda on the double asterisk. With that, we want to move on to a presentation of proclamation for National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We'd like all our officers, police force members to come forward. Let's you all in the middle here. Patrick's going to do the honors this morning. Vice President Gossett.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Proclamation for National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, January 9th, 2026. But if I may say that every day is Appreciation Day of what you do for the community and for all of us. Whereas we recognize and honor the selfless and heroic service provided by the men and women of the Rehoboth Beach Police Department, and whereas law enforcement officers in every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their life on the line every day for their communities. They've answered a call to public service that is demanding and often unappreciated. And whereas we rely on law enforcement officers to keep our neighborhoods safe, enforce our laws, and respond in time of crisis, and whereas every day law enforcement officers throughout the nation face the threat of violence and danger, routinely putting their lives in jeopardy to defend others, putting themselves at risk of injury, disability, or even death. And whereas the Rehoboth Beach Police Department has made and continues to make important changes in policy, policing, and transparency, including the enhancement of services with professional development opportunities, leadership training, and community outreach. And whereas these men and women, by their distinctive service and dedication efforts as law enforcement officers, have earned our highest respect and deepest gratitude. Therefore, we, Mayor Stan Mills, and Board Vice President Patrick Gossett, do hereby proclaim January 9th, 2026 as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Proclaim this 5th day of January 2026.
Thank you. Before anybody moves, I just want to say that this message and this proclamation is especially poignant today as Corporal Matthew Snook of the Delaware State Police is being buried today. I'm sorry, would you?
As Corporal Matthew Snook of the Delaware State Police is being buried today because of his in the line of duty death. Corporal Snook was recently senselessly fatally shot while working an overtime assignment at a DMV in Wilmington. He was a 10-year veteran of the DSP and was highly regarded. So please join us now in a moment of silence in respect of all law enforcement personnel and also the family members of Corporal Snook. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to extend my appreciation for all that you do, not only our communications dispatchers and the law enforcement officers. You all really do such a wonderful job, and thank you.
Thank you. Photo op. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is correspondence. We're going to pass that up as there is none. With that, we're going to go right to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. To follow the proclamation of National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, I'd also like to say that after another busy holiday season, we really appreciate our police department for keeping our visitors and residents safe during several large events and celebrations around town. Our budgeting process is well underway, just as we bid farewell to Finance Director Burke Dukes this past Friday, but we are excited to have Julia Johnson here and moving forward in that process with us. As you know, we will have our first budget workshop next Friday, the 16th at 9 a.m., and that concludes what I have today, but if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of City Manager? Thank you very much, Taylor. With that, there is no old business. We'll move right on to new business. But before that, I'd like to make a little statement. And that is with this new type of meeting called the Commissioners Meeting, we do have the opportunity, as we've noted in Lines in the Sand and other publications, that we do have the opportunity to vote as well as discuss topics. For this topic and topic C, they're being introduced at this meeting and voting in the same meeting. And I just wanted to reiterate something that I've said at the last meeting and previous meetings. And that is that introducing and voting at the same meeting is intended for simple topics, for support documents that have been received at least 7 days in advance and published prior to the meeting. That's easy for the layperson to understand. This is, by the way, not a new concept because we've been doing it for over a year for certain things, appointments and contracts for construction projects. But there's still an opportunity among everybody, to voice if they think it's too early to vote. They can certainly have that opportunity to express that. And that'll be for us to discuss. With that, the next item of business is discuss and possible consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 230, Article 2, relating to special events. Brooke, I think.
Okay. Good morning. First of all, I'm Brooke Thaler, Communications Manager, for anyone who doesn't know me. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. I'd like to draw your attention to the agenda item report to discuss and possibly consider an ordinance amending Chapter 230, Article 2, Sections 6, 7, and 8 relating to special events in the city. Please refer to the embedded documents in the agenda, which include the draft ordinance and an updated draft of scheduled fees and penalties, as we currently do not codify the pavilion rentals in Grove and Stokely Parks. So while we are not proposing changes to those, we are simply looking to add those in. This came about when our communications team looked at the special event permit application terms and conditions on our website and found some of the language and points to be outdated and confusing. In addition, Bandstand Director Corey Grohl suggested some fee changes for bandstand rentals that would also be less confusing and arbitrary and would make the billing process more seamless and transparent. If you see Section 236 for permit fees, the language had stated that the city would require a deposit of $550 for a special event permit, which is no longer done. For as long as our current communications team has been here, the deposit has been $50. It also stated that depending on the usage, some or all of the deposit may be returned, while also stating that special events of significant size or scope may require an additional fee to reimburse the city for additional costs. This is confusing to both parties and requires tedious work on the part of the communications team, bandstand manager, to understand what would be refunded, what further charges would be required. The language here has been simplified to a non-refundable processing fee of $50. And a tiered approach has been taken for the bandstand facility charges, which has been proposed in that schedule, fees and penalties document, pages 42 and 43. These tiers are based on the duration of the event, including setup and cleanup time, which will be decided upon in advance and billed after the event. In addition, for all events at the bandstand, the city requires a proof of insurance, yet the language as it currently stands is confusing and makes insurance seem optional and a choice that would be made by the city manager. This is updated in Section 237 in the ordinance. In 238, we have edited the language involving setup and cleanup to be clearer about the renter's responsibility in that process. Thank you for your consideration, and are there any questions?
Thank you, Brooke. Since the support document was presented and published at least 7 days prior to this meeting, I find that very helpful. Does anybody up here need anything clarified before we go to the public?
Just have one question there, if I may.
Commissioner Gossett, go ahead.
Thank you. Just for perspective on this, can you have an estimate of how many events were hosted in 2025?
It is hard because of the very, very different levels of events, which is one reason why we're looking at this. So I don't have that number for sure. I mean, I will show you this. A lot.
A lot.
So this is how it has been done in the past, is keeping these massive binders. And so we're working on that process as well and digitizing all of that. But I mean, some of the races are, some of the events are, smaller 5Ks. There are events at Grove Park. I mean, those are included in here. And then obviously some of the big ones. So there are a lot of them, but some are very insignificant as far as not the purpose of the events, but as far as the impact that it has on everybody else. And then obviously some of them, I mean, when you talk about Sea Witch or Bark on the Board, some of them that are, much bigger. So we will be going through all of that soon to really look at the number of events, the structure of all of them. But in the meantime, to be able to work through these details will help us moving forward when we're looking at the schedule into 2026.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? With that, before we go to the public, I'd like to make mention that as we offer opportunities for comment to the public, please wait to be acknowledged by the chair and given the floor. And of course, this applies to the commissioners also. When a member of the public is recognized, then please come to the center microphone, state your name and address or relationship to the city, and direct your remarks to the board, and keep your comments focused on the topic ahead. Everyone gets 3 minutes so we can hear from as many voices as possible. The countdown clock, as everybody here knows, is on the wall above the one monitor and will beep when time is up. Thank you in advance with that. Was anybody, members of the public, like to offer any comments? If not, we'll bring it back to the table here. Do you have any further questions or comments? If that not, I would entertain a motion that's in the agenda item report.
Mayor, if I may make a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance which incorporates feedback from the Communications Department and the Bandstand Director.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to,
Excuse me, Mayor, may I amend that and also include the ordinance amending Chapter 230, Articles 2, Sections 6, 7, and 8, related to special events permitting as presented by the city staff.
second.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second, essentially to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 230, Article 2, Section 6, 7, and 8 related to special event permitting as presented today by the staff. Are there any additional questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion's carried. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to you reducing the size of that folder, getting it all electronic. Our next set of business, new business, is B, discuss Streets and Safety Advisory Committee recommendations regarding synchronizing city function implementation dates into 2 seasonal periods, in-season and off-season. Commissioner Saunders?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. The Streets and Safety Committee has been working now for a couple of months on various items of concern that you had given us to look at. And this is our very first actual recommendation. And this is a very simple recommendation. We broke it down to a couple of parts to even further simplify it. The first thing we would like to do is we would like to synchronize and coordinate the dates of that we implement certain restrictions, specifically dogs on, losing my voice, dogs on the boardwalk and the dates in which we do not allow parking on certain streets. And I've listed those ordinance numbers. You can see them there, 92, 34, 17, 18, and 19, and 88, 115, 3, 88, 116, dogs running on the beach. Dogs running at large, if you actually read that ordinance, it simply says, as you would think that it says, that means that they cannot be there unattended, unleashed, so forth. So those are very simple. We just want to coordinate the dates to the same dates as everything else, which would currently be May 15th to September 15th. The current dates are May 1st, the prohibition, until September 30th, September 15th. So it would give 2 weeks on either end, but then everything would be the same dates. And part 2 of this recommendation is we have 3 items that are currently 6-month items. Those are certain terms prohibited turns, meaning the left-hand turns off Rehoboth Avenue onto 1st and 2nd Street. Sleeping on the beach, which, believe it or not, if you look at our resignation, I guess you're allowed to sleep on the beach in the wintertime because it only applies currently in the summer. And smoking prohibited except in designated areas. We would like to make no changes as far as those prohibited areas. We would simply like to make the change that we'd recommend the change that it be an all year long regulation. Now, to be fair, all of those were discussed at our meeting. We've had public input, and I've had emails on them. The only one that seems to be controversial is the right-hand turns. We did get some emails of people that thought that the left-hand turns, sorry, I'm left-handed. Left-hand turns, they like the way it is, they like the seasonality of it. No one objected to changing the dates, but they did object to doing away with them completely in the wintertime. So that you're clear on that we had asked for them to be made all year. But the public is telling us otherwise, that they're okay changing the dates to match the parking dates, but they're not okay with making them all year. So I'll take questions. Anybody?
Thank you, Mark. Let me indicate that on December 19th, we received your original report from the Streets and Safety Committee, and it broadly focused on synchronizing the dates for the various ordinances, specifically creating the 2 time periods, as you mentioned, in-season and out-season. The Board of Commissioners seemed to be receptive to that, and so today's agenda item report from his committee has more specificity with recommendations and the exact changes are listed this time. My expectation now is that the Board of Commissioners have received it, it's in our hands, that we then pass it on to the hands of the city manager to further evaluate recommendations utilizing his city staff, such as the police department and others, parking department, et cetera, and return to us for oral reports and also time for question and answer from the staff on Friday, January 16th, and with the opportunity and the agenda to vote if we're ready. Being mindful that the Chamber of Commerce voting visitor guide deadline is January 20th, I believe. So I'm not intending, did not intend for discussion further today until we've received the additional feedback from the staff on January 19th, but rather seeking a nod from the commissioners to pass on to the city manager. Are there any questions?
Mayor.
Commissioner Good?
Well, I appreciate the work that Commissioner Saunders and his committee members have done. However, I'm very concerned this is almost immortalizing the current parking season, which is inconsistent with Lewis, with Ocean City, Maryland, and with most other resort towns. So I think there should be some thought given to separating the parking enforcement season. I'm not sure there's support right now to extend it to Lewis's season, for instance, is May 1st to October 15th, or maybe till October 14th. And a lot of these nearby jurisdictions, with the exception of Dewey, which is a far more seasonal town than Rehoboth Beach, with the exception of Dewey, are doing what I felt was reasonable for many years, that weekends, either Friday 10 a.m. or Friday 12 noon until Sunday, either 5 p.m. or some other time, because there's an acute shortage of parking on weekends in favorable weather in early May, in late September, and throughout October. As anyone, I believe one of our citizens, Ms. Kelleher, has written to all of us explaining that she can barely, when she's here on a Saturday and she needs to purchase something bulky or heavy, she struggles to find parking on a sunny, warm Saturday in, say, early October. And, that's normally municipalities. We as a commission should make parking available and use congestion pricing schemes that every other city has found are reasonable to control the crowds and to ask people that they don't park there for 8 or 9 hours because it's free, which is what's happening on a sunny Saturday in October. So I'm just concerned this sort of sets a tone. And while the mayor had said we would bring back the parking discussion in December of 2025, there was a way found to avoid that discussion. Maybe because, maybe there wouldn't have been a change this year. But in any event, let's look toward not, memorializing this as some sort of holy set of dates for parking, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. Certainly, by handing this over to the city manager and with further evaluation by your staff, you can take that into consideration. Any other further comments, Commissioner Thier?
Yeah, so this is related to Rehoboth Avenue really specifically, and some of the comments that Commissioner Good said. So there are concerns amongst the business community that the parking spaces don't turn over on Rehoboth Avenue once the meters are turned off. Turning the meters back on certainly could be a solution, but I don't think it's the only solution. So, Mr. Tedder, I'd just ask you to just kind of think about that. Maybe there's some things you can come up with. I think it's probably really, and again, it's probably a limited time frame, maybe 10 to 5 during the day, but I suspect there are probably some options that don't involve turning the meters back on. So if you could just think about that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I want to remind everybody, this is not a parking discussion. Absolutely. Okay. Commissioner Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have a process question. So we discussed this, the initiative, and I thought we were going to be prepared to get the inputs today to be able to vote. And so where are you, Mr. Tedder? How long will it take to analyze? So, because that will be then the third time we discuss fairly straightforward thing.
Correct. So today, it sounds like everyone's agreeable to moving this forward, so staff will prepare the ordinances and talk internally, and we'll bring it back at the next meeting with the ordinances for you to approve.
January 16th, right. Suzanne, if you'd like to sponsor a parking discussion, then let me know. With that, is there any further?
Mayor, because of the chamber's deadline, which has been, a factor in past years when parking was discussed, we were up against there. Well, now it's January 20th. In past years, I think there was an extension till early February in terms of printing brochures. But regardless, it's sort of time sensitive. So if we were to have a parking discussion, I actually think it's time for people to express their views on this today. And, and I appreciate, while Commissioner Thier is now trying to come up with creative ways to mitigate the crowds without charging money, personally, I just think that people vote with their wallets. They make decisions with their wallets. And so I don't know what hoops Mr. Tedder is supposed to go through to find ways. I mean, if you're saying that you'll limit it to 3 hours on the avenue itself, that means you still need parking enforcement personnel. So we'd be the only city which has a time limit and has to hire personnel, but isn't collecting any revenue in that case. So, but I'd love to hear those
Commissioner Good,
ideas.
this is not on the agenda, as I mentioned, just, I think, 3 minutes ago.
Well, when we need to do this in time for either January 20th or early February. So that means unless we discuss it today, as Commissioner Stewart seems concerned about, we aren't ready on Friday, January 16th to make a decision.
Despite what I'm hearing is a recommendation to violate FOIA and discuss this, I refuse to do that. I'd like to go to the members of the public. Remember, our topic is synchronicity, and essentially we are handing it over to the city manager so that he can consult with staff members, including the police, for instance, and bring back their reports to us at the January 16th regular meeting and have the opportunity to vote on it if we're ready at that time. Any members of the public?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No.
I mean, how does
I
it
have
violate
called-
FOIA?
I
It's
have
on
called
the
on the
agenda, right? It doesn't violate FOIA. I don't want to be accused of things that I haven't done. This in no way violates FOIA.
Parking is not on our
It's on
agenda.
this recommendation of 2 seasons, which parking is one of the components of one of the 2 seasons.
Commissioner, no one's accusing you of violating FOIA. We're trying to prevent that from occurring. If the matter is not on the agenda, as the mayor said, this matter will be brought back for discussion amongst the Board of Commissioners. It's not being presented to you. It will be discussed by city staff, ordinance prepared, information provided, and then it will return for the January 16th meeting, and it will be properly on the agenda, noticed, an opportunity to vote. Parking is a separate issue, and I think the mayor mentioned if you would like to sponsor that as a topic and prepare the information, I'm sure the Board of Commissioners would be happy to consider it at a later date.
We'll go to the
I
public.
understand. I would like to
This is
respond
not-
when.
If I could, please.
This is
Mayor, if I
not-
could, please. If I
I'm
could,
not
please.
asking for an extensive
If I could,
discussion
please.
of parking. I'm just asking whether people are comfortable with city staff. We're the ones who are elected. They aren't. For city staff to start using this as a template, that
Mayor, if I could, please.
the season will be May 15th to September 15th.
Mayor, if I could, please. I'd like to bring this to a close.
Personally, I think this
Yeah.
ought to be a process where the city staff is always consulted when a recommendation comes forth. Commissioner Thayer?
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, everyone has to remember this is a city manager form of government here. But specific to what Commissioner Good is requesting, the comment I made, I probably, instead of asking Mr. Tedder, should have said to Mr. Saunders, right? Because this, again, the comment I made about Rehoboth Avenue specifically, once the meters, I probably should have directed that to you, as maybe that's something the Streets and Transportation Committee would like to take up. And maybe we could just, as to close out this dialogue at this point, maybe we can kind of all agree that's something that Streets and Transportation, Mark, if that's something that you're, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Go ahead.
I kind of think that's a budget item. I really think the commissioners should be doing it rather than giving it to Streets and Committee, because it's a budgetary item. So I don't know if the Streets and Safety Committee would feel comfortable setting the dates of the parking.
And again, I'm not, just kind of be clear what I had asked Mr. Tedder, right? So what I had asked Mr. Tedder was, or had suggested Mr. Tedder was, the businesses are concerned about turnover on Rehoboth Avenue once the meters are turned off. There are probably ways to encourage turnover without turning the meters back on. That's not a budget item.
I misunderstood you. Okay.
Yeah, so no, I just wanted to be clear. So again, I think for the purposes of ending this discussion, maybe we kick that back over to Streets and Transportation
could
Committee.
indeed.
So, thank you.
Well, again, what we have in front of us is exactly the agenda item report. And I wanted to go to the public. Carolyn?
Carolyn Diefendorfer,
Is
city
that
resident.
microphone on?
It is. I can hear.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The item that I wanted to mention is the left turn item. I think where the big problem comes in is left turns from Rehoboth Avenue to First or Second. People are using that as a U-turn, and they're not acknowledging that the traffic light then controls the intersection when they turn into it. And we repeatedly see cars making U-turns without acknowledging the red light. So I would encourage you to, if nothing else, do away with the left turns year-round, because they're not being done properly. Either that, or at those intersections, it needs to say all year round, no U-turns, because that's what people are using them for. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we have our path forward, and we'll hear again from the city manager on January 16th. With that, the next item of new business is discuss and possible consideration of an award of the fiscal year 26 water meter replacement contract for water meter route number 2. Henry? And again, this is one of those introduce and vote if we're ready to vote. The support document was embedded in the agenda 7 days prior to the meeting, and we thank you for that. Go ahead, Henry.
Thanks, Mayor, Commissioners. So as the mayor said, in the it's been embedded in the agenda item report, the letter from Davis, Bowen, and Friedel recommending the contract, as well as the PowerPoint presentation. So the purpose is to discuss and possible consideration of approving the annual water meter replacement contract. This year, 363 1-inch meters will be replaced in a residential area on the west side of town, south of Rehoboth Avenue. There were 2 bidders, with Harry Caswell LLC being the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. So the staff recommendation, respectfully request the Board of Commissioners to award the water meter replacement contract, which is currently water meter Route 2, to Harry Caswell LLC in the amount of $103,710. And again, there's additional documentation and in the presentation. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions up here before we go to the public? Commissioner Saunders?
Henry, walking around town, I'm seeing more and more cases where the water meters have been placed in the sidewalk, and the sidewalk moves, and now there's a gap between the the water meter. I'm wondering, even on new construction, why are we putting them in concrete? Why are we putting them in concrete sidewalks? Wouldn't it be better off on the soil somewhere where they could move
It's
without?
actually easier to replace than in the sidewalk, and that's pretty much the construction standard nowadays to have it in the sidewalk.
Then we got to keep up on the sidewalk, fixing it, repairing it, and so there's not that gap there for people to trip over.
Yeah, and again, these meters, we're replacing, some of them pits, where we do replace pits when it's needed. And if they are putting it into, say, like a new construction, the entire pit is being replaced.
Thank you.
Further questions of the commissioner? Commissioner Thier?
2 questions for you. I'm curious, cost this year versus cost last year. Are we seeing an increase? If so, do you recall about how much?
No, the unit price was roughly the same,
Okay.
both for the construction and the meters. And we were under budget about 100,000 last year. So what we did, we ordered more meters that we have in stock. So we know we have a few more years of doing this, and plus, as mentioned, the water department during the year will not use a contractor and replace on their own. So we have ample stock for that.
Okay, great. And Mr. Cheddar, what is the timing for the functionality be available to residents to monitor their water usage online?
So that is a little bit different. It's not real-time monitoring, but it will, once we are able to move forward with the resident access portion of Munis, that's the difference between citizen self-serve, they'll be able to see their month-to-month usage. And staff is currently in the implementation process. I think it will probably be around summer.
Okay. Is there, I was under the impression that it was going to be more real-ish time data would be available. Is anybody going to have access to that real-ish time data?
We are able to run reports of specific meters, but that actual software that the city purchased does not have real-time, day-to-day data on the resident-facing portal.
Okay. Because one of the benefits, we all probably once or twice a year, we don't have a lot of people, we have a lot of residents or houses that are vacant. I think you understand where I'm going, right?
Correct.
So to be able to monitor something that could, not only save a property owner a ton of money, but save a lot of angst for a lot of different people. So I don't know if that type of function is available or not, but if it is, maybe we look into it. So thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else up here? If not, we'll go to the members of the public. Anybody like to comment on the meter bid? If not, if you think we're ready, then I would entertain a motion in a second.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the annual water meter replacement contract to Harry Caswell LLC in the amount of $103,710 for water meter Route 2 meter replacements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award the annual water meter replacement contract in the amount of $203,710 for water meter Route number 2 meter replacement to Harry Caswell. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and the motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Henry, for your report. It was very helpful. With that, we'll move on to item number 9, future agenda topics. Does anybody have any comments or additions or whatever?
Yes, Mayor, if I may.
Commissioner Gossett?
Yes, thank you. There was a brief discussion here about parking permits, and just would like to know, there's also been discussion about the online permitting service for 2027. Just curious when that may come about for the future agenda topics, as well as the updated information on decisions about the summer concert series. Bandstand summer concerts.
Evan, do you want to offer anything?
Sure. So I think the staff is now prepared with our recommendation for changes to the Bandstand Summer Concert Series. That can be something that we bring forward as part of the city manager's report or an agenda item January 16th. I think we're prepared to do that. In terms of virtual permits, I think you're referring to parking permits. We've started standing meetings with the consultant T2 Systems. So I expect once we've continued more of those progress meetings, there's more to report. We'll provide updates as necessary. Certainly we can weave them in as part of the city manager's report, but when there's more substantial discussion needed or consideration related to ordinances or anything like that, we can put it on an agenda item report, or a future agenda topic. For right now, I don't have anything significant to report on virtual parking permits.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Commissioner Good?
Oh, Mr. Miller had a quick question about the implementation and the fees. Because one business owner and several residents who rent out their properties and provide that transferable permit, in one case to employees who share it a bit, different shifts, and in the case of the rental property owners, they physically provide it, on the kitchen table when people arrive on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. Will that system be able to cope with people in those circumstances where the permit gets shared sometimes on a daily basis or certainly on a weekly or weekend basis? Are you confident? Because some of these rental property owners are not that computer savvy, and they're concerned that they'll have to get license plate numbers from each person who's staying from a Friday night to a Monday morning, or from a Saturday to a Saturday, or whatever it may happen to be.
Sure. So what I can report right now is the thought with the virtual permit system specifically related to rentals is we know that a lot of the times rental properties are being managed by real estate agents, also in some cases the property owners. So in those cases, the property owner would have access to the website to be able to update license plate information. They will have to get that license plate information ahead of time from the visitors. The real estate agents, usually when they're managing bookings or taking reservations for bookings, they can get the license plate information at that time. And then the thought is that the real estate agents would be able to update that information prior to the arrival of the guests. Ultimately, how the property owners or the real estate agents handle, the switching out of the information, the exchanging of the information is up to them. But we're confident that it would be a pretty seamless process in order to update that information.
Well, I'm glad you're confident. I know a lot of
Mayor.
property owners who directly rent
This
through
is future agenda. This is
Airbnb.
not discussion topic. Thank you.
Okay, well, just make sure you take into account that only.
It's not a discussion
a
topic.
certain percentage of
This was
property
not
owners
this was
use
not
real estate
advertised to the
agents for
public.
rentals.
Suzanne, that's enough. Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring a topic up that I heard repeatedly during the campaign last summer related to the management of Deauville Beach. Deauville Beach, historically was under the management of the city, but then switched, right? We don't have to go through that whole history, but is currently out of the control of the city. And what I heard repeatedly on the campaign trail, particularly amongst residents who live in North Rehoboth, mostly in the Pines, that the management of the beach is not quite what it used to be, and they were interested in revisiting, getting it back under the control of the city. So what I'd like to add or propose is a future agenda topic for that topic to see if there's the appetite, interest, potential for returning Deauville to city control.
All right, thank you. We'll give that consideration. Is there anything else?
Mayor?
Commissioner Good?
I would hope-
Commissioner Good,
I
we're on
would-
future agenda
Well, I would
topics.
I want to just support Commissioner Gallanti in that. That's an effort, right? That I would love to see that on on a meeting agenda as soon as possible, in the hopes of maybe getting it situated even as soon as May of 2026.
That's all we need from you right now. Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Gossett?
Yes, Mayor, I would just, if we could establish some protocol and procedures on future agenda topics. These are not discussion items. They are simply mentioning and requesting for future agenda topics. There should be absolutely no discussion because this has not been advertised to the public. There's no opportunity for the public to comment, and these erroneous comments, additional comments about future agenda items are very much not warranted. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
No, I'm not calling on you yet. Did you have something?
I did not.
Are you talking about a future agenda
Well,
topics?
the
Per the
definition of
protocol that-
this is public session, so
This is not public.
anything said here
This
is
is not
available to the public.
session, Suzanne. If you don't listen to the chair and quiet when I'm speaking, then you're violating our civil policy. You need to learn to wait to be given the floor, and then when I take it away from you, you need to respect that too.
May I have the
We are
floor?
on future agenda topics. You may have the floor if you have something, and we'll adhere to the protocol that Commissioner Gossett just said. We're not discussing it. We're just putting out some ideas.
May I have the floor, please?
You have.
I would just like to state that we've had various degrees of people bringing up topics which don't happen to be on that day's agenda in that exact form. But I don't believe, having consulted with several very able attorneys, that it's a violation of FOIA to express ideas in public session about something germane to that topic. And so we're being held to rules which are unworkable. And for instance, with this parking topic that I asked in December be brought back because we were facing an early February deadline, there's nothing wrong when Commissioner Saunders' report references the parking season as part of these two seasons to bring up the parking season, which is an integral part of that. And I'm disappointed that I'm treated differently from every other sitting commissioner when it comes to your definition of violating FOIA. Commissioner Gallanti brought up something that's not on the agenda, but there was no concern about FOIA. If I dare bring up something, it's always the sky will fall, this is a FOIA violation, and that has to stop. There are a number of problems that have happened, and I believe that it's unfortunate that you and some of my colleagues have taken this route.
Thank you, Suzanne. We're going to move on to future agenda topics. Review future meeting dates. Friday, January 16th, there's two meetings. January 16th at 9 a.m., there's a budget meeting. That's a budget meeting number one. And then Friday, January 16th, 2 p.m. is our regular meeting. With that, I'll move on to commissioner announcements or comments. This is for, I got citizen comment. Frank, you're it. And Kate, anything? Nothing? All right, thank you very much. With that, commissioner announcements or comments, which are intended to be exactly that, announcements or comments. Anybody? If not, then no further business. We'll adjourn this meeting at 9:57 p.m. Thank you very much.
Speed.
AM.